Hello, everybody. We are live. I see a bunch of people hopping on. Let's see, Charlene, Debbie, good morning. Florine, Linda, good morning, everybody. Nancy from Houston, good morning, good morning. Just a quick introduction here. We're going to jump right in so that we can get started and give you guys a chance to ask a lot of questions. So what you'll see it's on my right hand side of the screen. If you're on mobile, it might be underneath the screen. On iPads, it's going to vary. But there's a little chat button, and you're going to want to post your questions, comments, whatever there. We have quite a few people moderating and here to answer questions. So as you're asking your questions, we're going to go through them and we'll be answering them as we go. But first, I'm going to do a little 15-minute presentation for you guys on the 10 pillars of brain health. I'm going to give it Glenn. Namaste from California. Nice to meet you, Glenn. Nice to have you here. First of all, I want to introduce two of my certified memory and cognitive health coaches that are with me here. First, we have Carol McCarthy, who's here. She is on the top right of my screen. I don't know where she is on your screen, but Carol is a certified functional coach as well as a Bredesen certified coach. She is our DNA specialist here at Simple Smart Science and our just an amazing coach, changing people's lives. She does a lot with gut health. She does a lot with anything Bredesen. We love having Carol on our staff, and she works with all of our clients on their DNA functional tests. And then we have Nikki Aiello, who is at the bottom of my screen. And Nikki is another one of our fabulous coaches, changing lives. She also partners with me on our Live Long Well retreats that we host. Nikki is a specialist in addiction and general health and a lot of really detailed things when it comes to amino acid therapy. You name it, Nikki's got the knowledge there. So we're very excited, anything brain health related as well. Very excited to have my two coaches. We have a whole staff, but these are my two coaches that are going to be here today to help us out. So we'll all three be answering your questions depending on the specialty. I always say not one coach knows everything. So we're all here to help support each other and give you the best answers we can give you. So I'm going to just hop right into the presentation here so I give you guys more time. Today's Ask Me Anything is our first one we're doing here at Simple Smart Science. We had almost 800 people register today. So that's very exciting. And we're going to be talking about my 10 pillars of brain health. So let me get that loaded up. Let's see. So can Nikki, Carol, can you guys see the presentation? Great. Yeah. Okay. So this is our Ask Me Anything of 10 pillars of brain health. And so over the last 11 plus years now of running, starting, owning Simple Smart Science, I have created the 10 pillars of brain health. And really what it is, when we're looking at your brain and we start with your brain, I always say it's the cockpit to the rest of your body. And so if you put your brain first, then everything else will follow regarding your health and happiness. And so when we're looking at what can cause problems with memory and cognition, we follow a lot of what Dr. Dale Bredesen, he was the chief neurologist at UCLA. We follow a lot of people and a lot of doctors, a lot of different modalities, but his is one of our favorites. And he says that there's 36 different reasons for memory loss. And so he likens it to a house with holes in the roof. So you may have some big holes and you may have some small holes, but in the end, if you don't fix them all, when it rains, you're still going to get a leaky, a wet living room floor. So what we want to talk about when it comes to the 10 pillars of brain health, we know that the 10 pillars of brain health can help resolve, not all, but a lot. I like to say around 25 of the 36 reasons. Now, there are definitely reasons, TBI, brain injuries, heavy metal poisoning, mold poisoning, all of those kind of things can cause dementia that your lifestyle and your environment aren't going to fix. That a lot of it can help, but a lot of those need medical treatments. But outside of that, we know that our 10 pillars can definitely change people's lives. So, and help to prevent dementia and Alzheimer's, which is why we're all here, and make us sharp today, which is the most important thing. So what I want to go through is the 10 pillars real quick. As we're going, feel free to put in your questions. I'm going to just run through this presentation quickly, and then we're going to answer questions after. So as I'm talking, if you have questions, go ahead and put them in there, and then we'll start the questions afterwards. So to start with, what are the 10 pillars of brain health? And about 2 minutes before this, someone pointed out that supplementation is spelled wrong. So I do know that. That's the thing about going live, right? So the 10 pillars of brain health are nutrition, exercise, sleep, stress reduction, meditation, breath work, supplementation, or misspelled word there, social, use it or lose it. And I also include on that one purpose, and then learning. So let's dive into each one of these just real quick, just kind of spark the questions for you guys. The first is nutrition. And I want to be really clear here that brain nutrition is not the same as eating for losing weight. It's not a diet for anything like that. What we do find when we work with our clients and our coaching programs is when they eat for their brain health, the weight automatically falls off. Like you just stop focusing on your waistline and start focusing on your brain, and a lot of that resolves. And so, and I have every body separate in this. It's not misspelled. It's because every body does react differently to foods. It's not only what you eat, it's how you eat and when you eat. So when we work with clients, the first thing we do is put everybody on a continuous glucose monitor. And that allows us to see inside your body, because we want to monitor your glucose. There's a type of dementia they refer to as type 3 diabetes. And that's because of a lack of insulin response in your body. So we want to measure how foods are reacting to your body, how when you intermittent fast, how that's reacting to your body. We want to measure, we can see all of that, how your body, even stress and sleep affects your insulin and your glucose levels. So we monitor that very, very closely for our clients. I do also want to say when we're talking, because of that, when we're giving you advice today, it is very broad based without knowing you, your individual situation. And this goes for all the 10 pillars. We're not going to be able to answer very, very specific questions. Like Carol's an expert in gut health. And, if you have a lot of gut issues, there may be things that may not apply to you, right? So we are going to give some broad suggestions there. Then exercise. Again, every body needs different exercises. When we put our clients, we do a functional DNA test, and that test can actually tell us what exercises are best for you. Like for me, strength training, I should be doing 60, 70% strength training and the rest cardio, 30% cardio. That's kind of opposite of what I've done my whole life. So it's really good to know that based upon my DNA, that's what my body wants. So, but in general, as we get older, strength training is just as important, if not more, for your balance and your cognition than cardio. So a lot of people, they go on walks, they do a lot of cardio. We do encourage more safe strength training. So having said that, you always want, if you're starting new strength training, you want to get with a personal trainer or a physical therapist so that they can make sure, based upon your body and where you're starting, that you're doing it correctly to avoid injury, and also doing it correctly to get the results you want, right? So the next thing is sleep. There's, I know I talk to a lot of clients that they're up till 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. There's so many studies around night shift workers and how hard that is on their body. And so if you're staying up till 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, even if you're sleeping 8 hours, it is still not good for you. Sleep is when your memories stick. I always say it's like a photo album, and you have all your photos from the day, your memories on the table. And if it takes 7 to 9 hours to get those photos into the album, and you're only sleeping 5 or 6, that's quite a lot of photos you're just throwing in the trash every night, right? It's also when our brain cleans itself out. So you can think of it as a little cleaning crew that comes in and cleans out your brain at night. And every time you have a thought, it leaves a little neuro trash. And so it needs to be cleaned out. But again, if it takes 7 to 9 hours to clean out your brain and you're only sleeping 5 or 6, then that's a lot of trash left every single night. And over decades and decades, you're basically in a car driving down a road that's full of trash. You're not going very fast or not going at all. So if you have slow recall, if you're forgetting names or words in the middle of a sentence, a lot of times it stems from this, the brain that just has so much trash down its neural pathways. So again, in general, most people need 7 to 9 hours of sleep. Even more is actually not good for you. To sleep 10, 11, 12 hours, not that great for you. And less, of course, is still not that good for you. There is 5% of the population that needs less than 7 hours of sleep. They can survive on 5, but don't think that's you unless you get tested, because it's really this critical. All right. So the next is stress reduction. And we all know stress is detrimental to our brain health and overall health. I think everybody knows that. It can cause inflammation, chemical imbalances. A lot of doctors believe that inflammation and stress are the cause of most diseases in life. So, but it can also come from your environment. And I want to just spark some thoughts for you guys around that. Let's say you're living in a very, very busy downtown, and there's, constantly cars and noise pollution and construction and ambulances. That's a lot of sensory input going in every day, and that causes stress, right? It's also toxin stress, right? You have things around you that cause a lot of physical stress on your body you don't actually realize, whether it's your heavy metals getting into your body through your environment that's causing stress on your body, or mold or other toxins in your environment. So stress is very, very important, and it's inside your body and it's outside your body. It can be from your relationships, toxic relationships. I tell you, when we go back to the continuous glucose monitor, one of my highest spikes I had on that, which spikes are bad, right? You don't want your glucose spiking, is an argument with my husband. So it wasn't food, it was the stress that caused that huge spike. So the next thing we have here is, and I know I'm going fast through these, but I want to give you guys a lot of chance to ask questions, okay? And if we don't get to everybody's questions today, I'm going to give you a link, and Bailey's one of our moderators today. She can post that in right now, where you can actually book a call to talk to one of our memory assessors and ask your individual questions to them. They can think of them as kind of our triage nurses. They can definitely point you in the right direction, give you directions on more of your questions. So there's a link to book a call so that you get one-on-one attention. All right. So, and that's free. There's no charge for that call. So meditation is so important. I know at our retreats, we do a lot of meditation. We talk about the benefits of it. This is a really good technique to reduce stress, but it's also, if your brain is in 6th gear the whole day, going fast, it needs that time to shut down. And if you don't give it to it during the day, it will most likely take it at night. So I hear often that people can't fall asleep because their brain is just going a million miles per hour, or they wake up in the middle of the night and, their brain's just running a million miles per hour. That's because you're not giving it the time it needs to process during the day. So meditation isn't just sitting there with your eyes closed trying to clear your brain. That is one technique. It's the hardest technique There are tons of different techniques and free apps and everything available for you. Meditation is really about guiding your thoughts. I always say it's like, you have a bowling alley and it's the bumpers that they use for kids, right? You want the ball to just kind of bounce off those bumpers. So you're guiding your thoughts and controlling them, but you're letting your brain process. So we have lots of techniques for that. We can talk about that in this session. And really in meditation, we're looking to get congruent brainwave states. In our retreats, we do brain scans for people so they can actually see their brainwave states. So you just want to get it into a really calm brainwave state and get congruent brainwaves, which it's a little too technical for this conversation, but just to calm your brain down, shift it down, right? Go a little bit slower, go 25, 30 versus 80 the whole day. All right. So next we have breath work. It's also good for stress relief. It does do different things to your brainwaves. So it's not the same as meditation. It will reset your nervous system, and it does keep your lungs healthy. You know, we think about brain health and heart health and gut health, but we don't often talk about lung health. And breath work keeps your lungs healthy. It actually keeps your passages in your, breathing through your nose is incredibly important. It keeps all that open. And so you won't have problems with that as you get older. So breath work, very, very important. And then we have, of course, supplementation. We could talk about this. We can talk about any one of these for years. But most foods are nutrient deficient. They have been tested. A tomato today does not have the same nutrient density as a tomato 50 years ago. All right. So, but you don't have to just keep buying everything everybody sells you online. You need to know what your body needs. A lot of our clients take the functional medicine or to the functional DNA test, and that actually helps us to tell you what your body needs based upon your DNA, right? For me, I don't absorb, transport, or bind vitamin B12 well. So I have to take it 2 times a day. Otherwise it just goes right through because I don't absorb it well. And I have to take a very specific kind, D as well, vitamin D. So you got to know what your body needs, and you have to buy quality. We have a really good line, but we only have 3 supplements. So if you need other things, I always recommend Thorne. I know Carol, Nikki, do you guys have other companies that you guys use that you can recommend?
Metagenics, Pure Encapsulations is really good. Thorne is really good. Seeking Health is really good. Anything off of Full Script, which is kind of like a subscription for supplements, is really good. I think depending on what you need, go to the best source of that.
She just listed a bunch that I support as well.
Great. Thank you. So that's if you know the companies, and we can put those in the chat if you guys want to put those names in the chat. We don't have any affiliation with them, but if you know the companies, then you can know where to go to buy. Typically, you never want to buy at your Targets, your Walmarts. Even GNC nowadays is not that great. So you do have to go online to some of these companies and buy what you need. But and a lot of them you can actually get on, like Thorne, you can buy on Amazon, things like that. So you have that convenience. The next is social. So there was an 85-year Harvard study done where they followed men for 85 years. They're still ongoing. And what they found was that being social, having a good social network, having a good family, home life is more important than diet and exercise combined. But it can't phone is great, but it can't just simply be talking on the phone. You actually have to get out there and be around people. And so very, very important. And especially for people that are feeling down or depressed, getting out there and being around people, it's the last thing you ever want to do. It's the first thing you should be doing. And then laughter is the best medicine. So be with friends and laugh. There was a study done on diabetics patients, and they gave them all the same meal. They had half a group watch a horror movie and half a group watch a comedy. And the group that watched the comedy did not need their insulin after watching that, but the group that watched the horror film did. So laughter is medicine. So get there with friends, laugh, be around people. Next, we have use it or lose it, which I also include purpose into this. So I tell clients there are 2 days in your life you're most likely to die: the day you're born and the day you retire. A lot of people when they retire kind of just stop. They stop living, they stop doing, they sit in front of the TV. You have to keep active. You have to have purpose. You have to have a reason to get out of bed every single day to keep your brain sharp. We kind of say it's like a muscle. If you don't use it, you will lose it. So don't be one of those people that just sits in front of the TV and it doesn't do anything, right? You have to have something to wake up for. You have to have purpose, volunteer, teach something, tutor, whatever it is. Really, really important to keep active. And then finally, we have learning. So I talk about our learning curve, and in the first 35 years of your life, your learning curve is straight up and down, right? You're learning every single day, a lot. And then we kind of slow down, we get married, we have kids, and it starts to flatten out. We get comfortable in our careers. Every day starts to look the same. And then when we retire, typically it goes negative. People stop learning, they stop growing. Get out there, be on these events, right? Be on new things where you're going to learn. That's what this is about. So I don't care if it's workshops and webinars online. I don't care if you're taking piano lessons, new language, whatever it is for you. Keep learning, keep growing, keeping curious every single day, and challenge your current beliefs. So all of this is really, really good for your brain health. So on that note, those are our 10 pillars of brain health. And what I'm going to do now is go on over here to our chat and look at some of the questions we have here. It looks like we've had quite a bit. So let's see here. All right. So there was a question on mom had vascular dementia. How can I check for status of the vascular system? And is that different from Alzheimer's? Alzheimer's. That's from Tara Lynn. I'm going to bat this one over to Carol and have her answer that for us.
Sure. So what Bredesen has done is he has divided Alzheimer's into types based on the most significant contributor to that type. So there's type 1 is inflammation, type 2 is nutrient and hormone deficiencies, type 3 is toxic, and type 4 is vascular. So when you have vascular disease that's affecting your heart, cardiovascular disease, that same process can be happening in your brain and be the underlying cause for vascular dementia. You can look at, there's certain scans you can do of your brain to look for changes in vasculature, but there are also just going to a cardiologist and seeing the vascular process in your heart can be extrapolated to this is likely happening in your brain also, especially if you're starting to see some memory loss, slight cognitive issues, and you have cardiovascular disease, then it's likely translating over. So food, exercise, sleep, stress reduction, all the things that are going to help your heart are also going to help the vasculature in your brain.
Perfect. Thank you, Carol. All right. And next question from Lisa. If both parents had Alzheimer's, am I doomed? We hear that one a lot. Nikki, do you want to answer that one for us?
Well, I'll partly answer it, but I'm going to let you two chime in too, because I'm sure we all have plenty to say about it. The answer is no, none of us are doomed, right? There is so much proof that epigenetics, the science, the fact that genes can turn on and off depending on environmental factors and different sort of dynamics that are happening within our body will determine whether or not those genes turn on or stay off for you. So when Julia was talking about the bucket a little bit ago, in our 10 pillars of brain health, it's all about learning to see what is coming into our systems and not being metabolized and processed and cleared out and remaining stuck, because all of those things build up, and that's what can turn genes on. So if you can work with somebody to really assess what might be filling up your toxic burden bucket and leading to a higher potential of those genes turning on, then you can start to take action lifestyle wise and start to empty out your bucket. And hopefully, I mean, it's not guaranteed for sure, but lower the chances of those genes turning on. A lot of it is lifestyle.
An environment, right?
An environment.
Yeah, I've seen stats where it's they a lot of scientists say that it's 5 to 10% is determined by your genetics, and 90% is determined by your lifestyle and your environment. Those are big numbers, but it also doesn't mean you're doomed. So thank you for that question. Carol, do you have anything to add?
No, I've just also heard it said that your genes load the gun, but the environment pulls the trigger. And the environment is what we have control over. So if you are doing all of the right things, you're never going to pull that trigger.
I love that. I hadn't heard that before. That was great. Thank you.
I want to add one more thing to that. Actually, when we talk about environment, it's not just stuff outside of your body. Like, our body is an environment too. So we have our own kind of like biological environment that we have control of. And then we also have to consider, just air and water and sound and all of the different sort of pollutants that are around us.
Exactly. So perfect. Let's move on here. I have one from Linda. Can high potassium levels cause brain problems? Is that something you can answer for us, Carol?
Sorry, I was reading a different question that's directed at me.
Somebody coming through. It's great.
High potassium. Sorry, say the question again?
The question is, can high potassium cause brain problems?
I would say that depends. That is one tiny factor in a giant question. High potassium is not necessarily a problem for everybody. It could be for some people. I think that you need the big picture. You need somebody to really, really dig into your story, dig into your health history, dig into your family history, dig into your genetic history, and then see, is potassium for you something that will move the lever towards cognitive decline? I don't think that's a universal yes or no. Okay.
Yeah. Again, it goes back to every body is different, and it's important to find out what is going on inside your body and what you need. So we say it so many times, right, that we used customized approaches, and that is why, because everybody is different. So good. Thank you. Let's see. Nikki, Karen asks, how do you get rid of the trash left over that I talked about earlier?
Well, that would go back to the 10 pillars of health. So, trash that builds up is basically stuff that comes in that we're not able to metabolize and produce and get rid of through waste products, right? So that can be food that isn't being metabolized correctly, broken down, utilized, and gotten rid of through waste. It could be emotional, energy, like, trauma that has not been metabolized, processed, and been cleared from the system. It could be poor sleep. When we sleep, we regenerate. If we're not getting enough sleep, we're not regenerating, and we're not clearing out. We're not clearing out the trash and all of that. So we get rid of trash by assessing the systems that may or may not be working well, metabolizing, clearing. Sometimes you often need kind of an outside source to help you identify. If you've been living with so much stuff for so long, you may not see actually how much you're holding onto. But then there's also physicians and specialists and even coaches who can help you identify what is most likely problematic and that you're not processing very well. So it's really a matter of seeing through symptoms and through assessments what is not working well, and then that can kind of point you to the different systems that might be causing that clog, and then addressing those systems. That's how you start to empty out the bucket.
Absolutely. And I want to just elaborate on the bucket analogy, because in functional medicine, we talk about having a bucket, and the bad things you do in your life, the bad habits, fill up that bucket with bad stuff. And the good stuff you do is that ladle, and it's, bailing out the bad stuff. And so it's when your bucket overflows with bad stuff that you get disease. And so everything we teach and are talking to you about today it's to, bail out faster and faster and faster. And so you keep that level, right? You're never pulling that trigger, like Carol said. So that's a lot of analogies that functional medicine uses. So,
and maybe, Julia, I think I'll add on, actually, if this person wants like some more specifics. Like I already mentioned sleep. Like increasing your sleep is important if you're not getting enough, because that's when we regenerate. But also like movement and exercise that actually like helps circulation to process and like move your blood through your system and start grabbing debris and taking it out through the appropriate sources. Breathwork helps move, oxygen to the brain, nutrients through the bloodstream to different areas. Social interaction produces different chemistry in the body. Like, so all of our 10 pillars are different ways to kind of keep the system moving and helping us to kind of clear out when it builds up.
Absolutely. Thank you. All right, here is another one. And I just want to say real quick, we're trying to get to everybody's questions the best we can. We have a ton of questions coming in. Some of them are very, very specific. And so if that is the case, and we don't answer your questions today, or you have more specific questions you don't want to post here, or you don't think we'll answer, I really, really encourage, Bailey is on, she posted a link to get a free call with one of our memory assessors, and they'll just go through, ask you some questions, assess your memory, and then you can ask them anything you want, and they're going to point you in the right direction. And so that may be talking to one of our memory strategists, that may be some free resources we can send your way. So if you have more specific questions, go ahead and click on that link. It's HTTPS go1hub.com/memory training. So Bailey will post that in there again. Bailey, maybe there's a way to get it like a sticky note or something. I don't know. So that's going to be a really good resource for you guys to have a 30-minute call with one of our memory assessors if we don't get to your questions, because some of these are a little specific. So sorry, I just had a phone call come in. That's live. All right, so let's go. Let's see. Brenda asked if we should take naps during the day. And so in general, again, very much in general, we want to have our sleep in one lump sum. But if you are taking naps, as long as it's not affecting your nighttime sleep, and there's a bunch of this is kind of a controversial one, I'll be honest. There's lots of conflicting data. But we like to say, as long as you're getting your 7 to 9 hours in a 24-hour period, that's okay. We prefer it to be all in one lump at night. But just make sure that your naps are not interrupting your nighttime sleep. That's the biggest thing. If they're making it hard for you to fall asleep, you may need to skip the naps. If they're making it hard for you to get enough sleep, you may need to skip the naps. When it comes to napping, you want to make sure that you do not. So there's a couple things. You want to make sure you're either sleeping 20 or 30 minutes, no more than 30 minutes, and that's your power nap, or you sleep your full sleep cycle of almost 90 minutes for most people. If you wake up between that 30-minute point and the 90-minute point, and 90 minutes a generality, but for me, it's more like an hour and 15 minutes. But for most people, it's somewhere in there. You are actually breaking yourself out of getting into your sleep cycles, and you can wake up feeling like you've been hit by a truck, and you wake up feeling groggy and it's really hard. But if you just sleep 20, 30 minutes and you wake up before that, you haven't fallen into a deeper sleep. So it's actually really regenerative for your brain. So if you want to take a nap, maybe stick to your 20, 30 minutes and then save the really deep sleep for your nighttime. That's what I would say. Anybody have anything to add?
I'll add to that. Something that we offer in our coaching program, actually, and educate our clients about is there's two practices. One is called Yoga Nidra, and one is called NSDR, non-sleep deep rest. And they are practices that you can do anywhere from like 10 minutes all the way to 45 minutes. And they are specific guided meditations that you do lying down that can take you into really restorative brainwave states quickly, so that you don't need to take that full, length of time that you would normally need for a nap. And it's very restorative, and you're not totally, you're kind of going through different sort of alternating through different brainwave states. So you feel like you're asleep, but you're kind of awake, but you come out of it feeling very, very recharged.
Absolutely. At our retreats, Nikki leads us through Yoga Nidra, and it is a very regenerative, beautiful. It incorporates a lot of the meditation, the sleep regeneration. It's beautiful. You can find on YouTube, you can find some for free, or we can even post. I know, Nikki, you have one on YouTube. We can post as well. So it's a beautiful practice for sure. All right. Let's see, what else do we have? Belinda asked, when do we have our retreats? We actually have one on Monday. We're all headed to on Monday in Cocoa Beach, Florida. We do them a few times a year. If you're interested in learning more about that, again, just book a call, tell your memory assessor you're interested in the retreats. And they're 5 days intensive brain health. And they're really for people who really want to go deep with their brain health. So just tell them you're interested in that, and we can send you in the right direction. Let's see what else. Yes, we will have a replay, so that's good. We'll send that to you afterwards. Let's see. Yes. So I got a question here that said, I wake up after about 6 hours and feel just fine. Going back to sleep is possible, and I do it in just a few minutes, but nothing changes how I feel when I wake up. So I'm going to assume that when he wakes up, he doesn't feel good. I'm not 100% certain that's from Charles, but really, if you're waking up and you're not feeling energized, not always, but a lot of times that could mean you're not getting enough sleep. So I do recommend, if you're able to go back to sleep, Charles, do so. And I haven't used an alarm in years and years and years. And I wake up and I just check in with my body and I say, is this enough? Am I done? I always say, am I done? Nope, I need a little bit more time to cook, and I'll go back to sleep. So just ask yourself, am I done, or do I need more sleep? If your life allows that. You should arrange your life so that you can allow that. I mean, I like waking up early, and I go to bed early. I go to bed at 8. So this is something that, it's for your life. But what I didn't mention earlier, why the sleep owl thing is not good for you. I know I talked about so many studies. Our bodies live and die by the sun. They have for all the hundreds of thousands of years that humans have been around on this earth. And when you get jet lagged, what resets you to the new time zone is the sun. It's your circadian rhythm. So when you're going against that, it can have really negative consequences on your body. One of the best things for jet lag is actually to just get up in the morning and get some early morning sunshine. That's also one of the best things for your sleep, honestly. We say a good night's sleep starts in the morning. Go outside, get that early morning light or sunshine. If it's wintertime, it doesn't have to be bright sun. It needs to be the light. That's going to start the clock on certain chemicals like melatonin and GABA to start building up throughout the day. And those are what help make you fall asleep at night. So if you're having a hard time sleeping, getting to sleep, you really want to reset in the morning. Get up earlier and get outside, get that morning light. Or if it's freezing, sit in front of a window. But a good night's sleep starts in the morning, and it starts with light and ends with light. A couple hundred years ago, before light bulbs, we didn't stay up all night because we didn't have any light. So we had to go to sleep, and our bodies are very physically attuned to that chemically. All right. Let's see here. Am I missing any? Let's see. I just did that one. So Shelley asked about a fast EEG for Alzheimer's detection. Traditionally, Alzheimer's was something that they can only detect after you pass. There are some tests now. There's a brand new one that came out. I think it's being approved by the FDA. I don't know where, Carol or Nikki, do you guys know where that stands a little bit more? The truth is, does it matter, right? A diagnosis doesn't change if you're having memory problems. If you know someone has Alzheimer's, is a type of dementia. There are many types of dementia. Alzheimer's is one. There are some drugs out there. I wouldn't recommend them for anybody. The one from 2003 works 50% of the time for 50% of the people, and on average for 6 months, and then it doesn't work. Comes with some side effects. The current one that they just came out with in January, 20% of people get brain bleeds. Like they're not working. Like they're not giving the results. And the reason for that is there are 36 reasons for memory loss. You're never going to have a pill that's going to fix all 36 reasons. Any heavy metal buildup, at your sleep, your brain incognitivity, all these things are not going to be fixed from a pill. So does it matter? Yes, for treatments or Medicare, you have to get a diagnosis. Pretty easy to do from your primary care physician to diagnose dementia. A lot of people will go further and diagnose Alzheimer's, and there's different ways to do it. They have one now that you can look up the nose and see. There's even one now they can look through your eyeballs, I think, and see. It's if someone, my mom has dementia, I don't know if it's Alzheimer's or not. It doesn't really matter, right? I just love her and spend time with her and hope for the best and do everything we can. If you do know somebody with dementia or Alzheimer's, please, please, please follow Dr. Dale Bredesen. And he has a book called The End of Alzheimer's. We can put that in the notes. Amazing, amazing book for everybody, whether you have Alzheimer's or not, on taking care of your brain health. And like I said, Carol's a Bredesen certified coach. She teaches this all day, every day, and to our beautiful clients. And it's just a world of information. It's a little bit overwhelming how much you have to do, but that's where we chunk it down. We always say, meet you where you're at, right? So let's keep going here. Yes, so we hear from most health sources, from Jim, that we need 7 to 9 hours of sleep. Trackers like Fitbit deduct time awake when calculating sleep time. I suspect most people think their sleep time is the time they go to bed to the time they wake up. And that's very true. If you have a sleep tracker, you may be in bed for 8 and it says you're only sleeping 7, right? So you need to be cognizant of that. And that's a lot of, when we're turning over and you can be awake for 10, 15 minutes in the middle of the night, not even really remember it or know it. So that's why we say 7 to 9, right? You may be in bed 9 and you're really only getting 7, but that's good. So we want to make sure we're getting 7 to 9 hours of sleep, and it varies. Again, you have sleep cycles. You could have light sleep. You're going to have awake periods during the night. You probably won't remember them. You don't really have to worry too much about that. Just make sure you're getting, typically we say 1 to 2 hours of the deep sleep is really important. And then you have your REM sleep, and then you have your light sleep, which is where you spend most of your time. So anything to add on those, Carol or Nikki? Okay.
No.
Okay. Let's see. Here's a little bit of a detailed one. I'm going to bat this one over to Carol. I had an AKA colon resection. They removed 10 inches of colon. I had 3 years straight of repeated bouts of, and I don't even know if I can pronounce this.
Diverticulitis.
Thank you. That's why we have Carol here. They were concerned about abscess and perforation. Will my brain help improve now that I've had this portion of my unhealthy colon removed? The surgery was September 13th of 2023. I've been in recovery. So, okay. Carol, can you, it's a very detailed question.
Yes.
Maybe just a quick answer there.
I think this is from Linda. I think, Linda, you can absolutely have lots and lots of hope. One of the primary causes of cognitive decline and possibly Alzheimer's is inflammation. The most common place where people have inflammation is their gut. So you had a story of lots of inflammation in your gut with diverticulitis, needing surgery, having that resection, repairing your colon. If you do the right things now to support the health of your colon and that inflammation subsides, then that is going to trickle down into all parts of your body, including your brain.
Very good. Very good. And yes, that was very detailed. Again, you can book a call and we can help to like assess and figure out where you are and see if you guys want to work with us. Vicki asked, can you explain functional DNA and what info that provides? So the functional DNA test that we use does look at all your DNA, and what they've been able to do, we have a ton of data on DNA now, is be able to say, okay, everybody with this gene has this tendency, right? And like Carol said, they load the gun, but it's your environment that shoots it. So it's a huge report that we get on our clients when they do these functional DNA tests. And so Carol, our DNA specialist, actually goes through and creates, you do 3 calls with her, and she creates a report that kind of breaks it down for you better and says, okay, based upon like my body doesn't process inflammation very well and toxins. So I got to be really careful about toxins and inflammation in my body. And so there are things that I specifically can do. And that's where we give you the recommendations based upon where your environment is in your body. Again, I may be processing inflammation great, but my DNA says that my body has a more difficult time with it. So I just need to be careful and double down on things that are inflammation, gets rid of inflammation, make sure I'm not doing things that increase inflammation, like having a lot of stress and that, those kind of things in my life, eating processed packaged foods. So we love the DNA test. It goes through everything from hormones, sleep, exercise, supplementation. I'm missing a ton because it's like an 87-page report on you. And the best thing about DNA is you never have to do it again. Your DNA doesn't change. And every day that they come out with new information, we're able just to give you it based upon what we have. So we do this for our higher level clients, and we're able to really help you determine how to live your life based upon your DNA. So we love our functional DNA tests. Carol, if you want to talk a little bit more to that, if you want.
Yeah, I think the important thing to know is we are looking at your variations in your DNA, which everybody on the planet has thousands of variations. They determine why we're unique, and they also determine kind of our predisposition to disease, the weak links in our genetic chain. But that is the roadmap to what can we do to strengthen those weak links. They are not diagnostic. It is not a diagnostic test. It is telling us where you need to work the strongest, which parts of the pillars of brain health are the most important for you, so that we know we're supporting you exactly based on your biology.
Exactly.
I think I'd like to add a little bit too. When you think about the word functional medicine versus, allopathic or conventional medicine, functional is a holistic approach. It's all organs and all systems affect other systems, right? So the functional DNA testing and results really show you how this system over here, if it's suboptimal, that could actually affect something totally seemingly unrelated. So it really wants to optimize all of your systems, and it's going to help give you like information about yourself that you wouldn't maybe get in a non-functional DNA test, which might just say you have this gene and you're more predisposed for this and end of story, right? It's just much more empowering to have a functional sort of approach to DNA rather than, what's kind of been out there to date.
Yeah. And unfortunately, it's not covered by insurance in most cases. I will say that I budget a lot a year to get testing done. I just spent a ton of money getting my hormones tested because I'm in that period of my life. And the information that comes out of it is so valuable on how things are working. For instance, I'm producing enough estrogen and my hormones are balanced, but I'm producing the wrong kind of estrogen that can cause problems down the line. And so we're stopping that pathway in order to increase the pathway of the better estrogen, right? And and my cortisol is not where it's supposed to be. So we're working on that as well. So all these things, I think the prevention, and there's nothing physically wrong with me. I spend a lot of money testing to make sure there will never be anything wrong with me. And I think that's the approach of functional medicine more often is we say holistic, meaning whole, your whole body. We're looking at your whole body, not just acute medicine of looking at this little thing in a silo, because everything is connected. Everything in your body is connected, in your environment, everything. And so we have to look at the big picture, and we need to see what's going on, and we want to be preventative, right? I mean, I know I have a level of stress in what I deal with in my, the business. We have a big business and everything, more so than most people. So I watch it more carefully, right? I want to make sure that 5, 10 years, 20 years from now, this isn't going to come back and bite me. And so I make sure today preventatively. And yes, it may cost me money, and it may cost me a lot of money, but it's going to cost me a lot less now than it will 20 years from now. That I can say 100%.
And
right?
quickly getting back to Carol's point about inflammation, like she gave a great example of what you were just talking about, Julia, about how everything is holistic and affects other things. Carol gave a great example when she was answering the question about the colon. Right, that inflammation there can ultimately affect the brain. And when the inflammation lowers, that can ultimately help the brain. But inflammation, as you've presented in past webinars, Julia, is one of the primary contributors to cognitive decline. And inflammation can spread. Like that's just such an interesting thing that if you have any system in your body that is inflamed, that can spread. So just focusing on just the brain and diminishing, plaques or whatever that could be building up, like you got to find the root of why that's all happening in the first place.
Yeah, the root cause is really, really important. And it's one of the things when you first start to work with our coaches, they do a memory assessment to help you find what some of the root causes are, right? Like what are some of those 36 holes in the roof that we talked about earlier, the 36 reasons for memory loss. So we get to the root cause. We're not just putting a Band-Aid on it. We're not just putting tar on those holes and covering them. We're getting in there, we're tearing out the beams, we're, tearing out, getting rid of the termite damage, putting new shingles on the house, right? So we want to make sure we're getting to the root cause, because just covering it up with a pill or a drug or just a Band-Aid approach isn't going to work, right?
Yes,
so,
and that's exactly why the pharmaceutical approach isn't working, because the pharmaceutical approach is looking at the symptom and trying to medicate away the symptom. So, when you look at brains of people with Alzheimer's, we see plaque in their brain. So let's see if we can create a pill that takes the plaque out of their brain. We're looking at it completely differently. Well, what caused the plaque to develop in the first place? Because if we can address that root cause, then maybe that's not a problem. Lots of people with normal brains and no cognitive decline have plaque in their brains. So that's not the problem. The problem is the root cause. And so functional medicine and our approach at Simple Smart Science is all about digging down into your history, your story, and figuring out what are your various contributing factors. What are your root causes and what can we do about them?
Absolutely. Thanks, Carol. All right, so we only have a few more minutes here. So let's see, we have Vicky, we did that one. RL, can you discuss the lymphatic system and brain health? And I'm going to let Carol answer that one, or Nikki.
Good, Nikki?
Sure.
Okay, so lymphatic system, one of the primary roles of the lymphatic system is to move toxins through and out of your body. And if you pictured like a medical diagram of the body, you'd see your circulation, right? All your blood vessels. Everybody knows what that picture looks like. Lymphatic system mimics that, but there's a difference. The blood vessels, your blood system, your circulation has a pump called your heart moving your blood all the time. Your lymphatic system has no pump. So if you have an excess exposure to toxins or inflammation, or your immune system's not working properly, and you're not moving, then your lymphatic system is not moving. So one of the things that gets our bodies clogged with toxins is being sedentary. And so one of the ways to get that lymph moving, get your toxins moving out of you, is to move your body. And in the coaching process, we always meet you where you are, right? Some people are already running marathons. Some people are in wheelchairs that come into our program. And so we'll find a way for you to be able to move and get that lymphatic system moving. You can even do that with a brush, where you brush along your lymphatic system and move the lymph out. And then if you've got your DNA, we know your detox pathways aren't optimal, then that becomes even more important for you. You want to optimize lymphatic drainage. Your brain has a version of that called your glymphatic system, and that's responsible for pulling all those toxins out of your brain while you're sleeping.
Carol, do you want to talk a little bit about the fact that the lymphatic system doesn't have its own pump?
Yes. So I was saying that a second ago. Your circulatory system has a heart.
I'm so sorry.
Your lymphatic system has no pump.
You gotta
right?
trigger
so
those
your
little
lymph
valves.
nodes, right? You've got like circulation, lymph node, circulation, and there's little valves there. So when you move, you're walking, you're jogging, you're jumping up and down, you're dancing, you're flapping open those little valves on the top and the bottom of a lymph node and flushing those toxins through. You can do that with hot and cold water, switching your shower hot and then cold and then hot and then cold. And then that lymph node's going to go bing, 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 moves those toxins through. Okay.
Yeah, we do cold therapy at our retreats as well.
Yeah.
We talk about coaching as well. So let's see here. Some good resources. I think this is a good question from Tom. He said, please name a couple podcasts that promote guidance and improvement of brain health. I have a really good YouTube channel, free resources. We do a 10-minute memory hack every single week. There's stuff from our coaches on there. We have meditations on there. I think even the yoga nidra we talked about earlier is on there. So you just go to Simple Smart Science on YouTube. So many, hundreds and hundreds of videos. They're just small bites to 10 minutes. We also like Dr. Andrew Huberman. He has a great podcast that's also on YouTube. He posts tons of great information. He interviews other doctors. So you get a very, very broad range of information. He's a Stanford doctor himself. Who else do you guys like?
And that one's called Huberman Lab.
Okay.
And then I also posted the Doctor's Pharmacy, spelled with FARM, which is Dr. Mark Hyman podcast. Yeah. Those are my favorites.
Yeah.
Dr. Mark Hyman has developed the functional medicine clinic at Cleveland. If you guys know, Cleveland Medical Institute's very world renowned. And so he's building that out, which is wonderful, or has built that out, I should say. Okay, let's see. Yep. Sorry. Going down the list here. Can mold cause Parkinson's, and can Parkinson's be reversed from Sue? So probably going to take this and one other question. Again, if you have more questions, if you want to talk to our memory assessors so they can assess where you're at, and then talk to our memory strategists after that to get a better idea on what your next steps are based upon your health. We put the sticky link up there now. There's a little yellow button at the top, and you just click on that, book your free 30-minute call, and we'll be able to answer so many more of your questions there, at least guide you in the right direction if we can't answer them. And you can, of course, look at some of we work with clients in multiple programs. We have programs to fit almost every budget, and we work with clients. You can work with some of our beautiful coaches here. We have many of their coaches. We have sleep specialists and inflammation specialists and depression and anxiety specialists, Bredesen Protocol certified coach. We have toxin specialists. Like, we have everybody that can help you through all this. So if you're interested in working with us and as one of our memory coaches in one of our programs where we will work with you one-on-one about your individual circumstance, go ahead and click that link and book a call, and we'll get you in the right direction. So let's see. So the Parkinson question, can mold cause Parkinson's? Can Parkinson's be reversed? Mold absolutely causes dementia. And I believe that's why my mom got dementia. She had rashes on her bodies for years. We didn't know where it came from. And once we moved her, gone like that. And very shortly thereafter got dementia. We know that mold causes dementia. Specifically for Parkinson's, I'm not a Parkinson's specialist, but maybe Carol or Nikki can answer that a little bit more.
Toxins is one of the primary contributors to Parkinson's development. along with a disruption in the microbiome, which are the population of bugs that live in your gut. So that's kind of 1 and 2 as the triggers for Parkinson's. And mold is probably the most ubiquitous toxin in our environment. People live with it for a very long time, not knowing about it. It can get stuck in your system, in your brain, in your cells. So I think it's individual. Everybody's different. It's not going to cause, obviously, there's lots of people in moldy homes and they don't have any effect whatsoever. So it's not a hard yes, but for somebody with Parkinson's who had a mold exposure, it's probably one of the contributing factors. I think that Dr. Dale Bredesen's book, Reversing Alzheimer's, The End of Alzheimer's, began all about Alzheimer's and the contributing factors to Alzheimer's, but he has now broadened that to include other types of dementia, including Parkinson's, because he's seeing a lot of overlap. So I would also say it's individual, but yes, your symptoms, if you can address the root causes and figure out what they are, then you can reverse Parkinson's.
And you are able to reverse mold damage, heavy metal damage.
Correct.
You are able to reverse these things. So, yeah, and if nothing else, help Parkinson's get manageable, right? By finding the root cause. So, all right. So I'm gonna do one more question. Again, if you have more questions, please book a call, talk to us. I'm sorry we didn't get to everybody's questions. We are going to be doing these monthly. So we'll have many more of these for you to have an opportunity to ask us questions. May even have to go an hour and a half. It looks like we have so many questions and so many great people here. So you can also just, if you want, you can email support@customerservice.com if you have more questions that you want answered. Let us know. We'll try our best there to get you where you need to go. But more than anything, that first step is really just booking a call with one of our memory assessors so we can assess where you're at for your situation. So let's see. My last question here from Karen. Are adaptogens helpful, i.e. mushrooms, lion's mane? What about the mushroom coffee? And I know Nikki's very passionate about this, so I'm going to go ahead and let her talk about the mushrooms and the mushroom coffee and things like that.
Well, I'm not an expert, so I'm going to let Carol hop on in just a moment. But I will say adaptogens, just to know what they are, like they help your body adapt to different stressors. So that's just a really important thing to know about adaptogens. And, it's bio-individual. So certain people are going to benefit from adaptogenic mushrooms. Other people, that may not be right for their system. So just saying, mushrooms are great for everybody isn't a super responsible way to kind of go about this. But
adaptogens are good for everybody.
Yeah. Finding the right adaptogen for you.
Yeah. There are lots of different forms of adaptogens. And like our Mind Boost Day and our new Mind Boost Night has adaptogens in it, or in them. And so you can take them and they're not mushroom based because people are sensitive to mushrooms. But mushrooms in general, there's a ton of good benefits with mushrooms. But yes, adaptogens are extremely helpful. We recommend them all the time.
Carol, do you have anything more to add to the mushroom component?
I agree. Mushrooms can be phenomenal. I think that what we keep talking about and bringing up over and over again is this concept of bio-individuality, which means we are all different. We're different genetically, metabolically, biochemically. And so there's never a one-size-fits-all answer for any of these things. And so for sure, I think adaptogens are wonderful. I think mushrooms are wonderful. I love mushroom coffee, but you can have an underlying medical condition where mushrooms can enhance your immune system, which can be wonderful for people trying to fight colds and COVID and all those things. But if you've got an autoimmune disease and your immune system's going on overdrive, you might not necessarily want to take something that's going to enhance your immune system. So it's very individual. You just need to have a conversation with somebody who knows what they're talking about.
Absolutely. So that's going to be our last question. I will wrap up and say, yes, we do work internationally. I'll just answer that question. All over the world, in the UK, Australia, New Zealand, everywhere. So yes, just book a call, talk to us. Lots of time zones available. But again, more individual questions. Sorry if we didn't get to everybody's. I know that Nikki and Carol have been busy trying to answer people's questions in the chat. So thank you, ladies, for that. If we didn't get to your question, reach out to us, let us know, book a call, reach out to support, whatever you need to do. We work with people all the time. You can work with some of our beautiful coaches here on getting more individual help through one of our coaching programs. So thank you, everybody. Thank you, Carol. Thank you, Nikki, for your time today. It's been wonderful. This was really fun. So hopefully we'll see everybody in another month. And every month we're going to take a new topic. So this was very general, 10 pillars of brain health. Next month, we will go a lot deeper on just one subject. All right. So thank you, everybody. Nikki and Carol, thank you much.
Thank you.
All right. Have a great weekend, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.